felt trapped. I felt like I was trapped, or that I was going to be trapped, or that.
But I would, like, they can't take that right away from a woman. What man can decide what is good for a woman's body? Like,
Oh, well, ultimately, it would have been my decision as the final decision, but we both had an agreement on that decision, so. But in the end, I mean, obviously it's the female's decision.
I think when eventually you settle down and you're in a serious relationship that you know it's gonna be committed and like this guy might be the one and we're gonna get married, you know what I mean? Then things change. But you know what else was a big concern for me, even way back then, was the world that I'm bringing them into.
I was scared more or less because I knew I wasn't ready to have a kid. But obviously the emotional effect that it has on you is something different. And because I was so far along, the hormones were already running through me, so that was something I had to deal with too.
It was kind of a range of emotions when I found out for a few reasons. I had just been through a breakup with. Let me start over.
What made me take a pregnancy test was the fact that I was late on my period and I was eating a lot. I was hungry all the time.
So I was super tired, like all of a sudden, a lot more tired than usual, just like couldn't stay awake no matter how much I slept, and was kind of grumpy, groggy all the time. And I was talking to a friend about it. She's older, she has 2 kids, full grown, and she made a joke. She was like, oh, wouldn't it be something if you were pregnant? And I was like, yeah, that'd be crazy. And then I was like, well, what if I am? And then so took a pregnancy test and I was.
So the reason I thought I was pregnant was initially because I had gone camping with my husband and friends, and instead of staying outside and enjoying the campground, I slept for the entire time, literally, like all day and all night. I slept so much on my camping trip that I seriously thought something was wrong with me. So when we got home, I went to the doctor.
I think I felt just like most young people. I was scared and sad and worried and all sorts of mixed emotions, I guess.
When I first found out I was pregnant, I was scared to death.
I was upset. I was only 19, so I wasn't ready for that, so I wasn't all happy.
Since I was only 7 to 8 weeks pregnant, I did an at-home abortion, so I had a pill that I took at home. There was one, the day of the appointment, I went in and they gave you a PrEP pill, and then a few hours later, after they had sent me home, you take the other one and pretty much just go through it at home.
It was an in-clinic procedure. The pill you can only do, I think, up to like 10 weeks. Anything after that has to be the actual procedure in the clinic.
It was painful. It was painful and kind of scary because I was alone. I did it by myself, like there wasn't anyone with me, and I wasn't sure if I wanted it to be that way at first, but then there just also was nobody to be around for it, so then I kind of was. And I was scared to tell people about it, so there was that as well. But it was long and kind of takes a mental toll while it's happening, I would say, just because you know what's happening. And because you're at home, like you'd think you'd feel comfortable because you're like in your own bed and at home, but you're not. And
my boyfriend at the time was very supportive and, was totally supportive in whatever I chose to do, but yet he was also in agreement with my decision. Neither one of us were ready to have a child, and there was no way I could have a child with that person, so I'm just glad he was supportive.
I think if I did not have access to anywhere with abortion, I could have ended up pregnant a lot earlier in life.
If I didn't live in a state that had easy access to a Planned Parenthood or just a clinic, abortion clinic in general, I have no idea what I would have done, especially considering I didn't have insurance at the time. So Planned Parenthood essentially paid for all of my medical care. They have a lot of good programs for people that don't quite make enough money to pay for the procedures themselves but can't afford insurance. They have a lot of...
And I had no health insurance or medical care, so can I throw Planned Parenthood in there? I started going to Planned Parenthood, who was actually my savior back then, and it wasn't just related to pregnancies. They also helped with birth control and doctor's appointments, and they were very helpful. And if I didn't have access to that health care, I don't know where I would have been or what condition I would have been in.
Feel for a lot of the women in these situations and in these states where they're currently being attacked for this, and I can only imagine that horrible feeling, wow, if that was me and I was stuck in that situation and I was wow, I really have to maybe have this kid with this guy who's going to ruin the rest of my entire life. I don't really know what I would have done. So it's that's why it's super crucial for women to be able to have the access to abortions and to these clinics, because there's a lot of states that only even have one abortion clinic in them, and a lot of women live very far away and they work and they can't get there, and it's hours drive. So,
And after the procedure was done, I felt very sad and yet relieved.
Looking back, I definitely made the right decision, and I knew I was making the right decision at the time.
As far as other states, considering abortion a crime, I think that totally violates a woman's rights. There's no person, there's no law, there's no state that should be able to tell a woman what to do with her body, first of all.
I guess if I had to go through with it, and due to the fact that it was illegal in the state I was living in, I just see a child growing up in a very broken home. And
being able to get an abortion and make that choice for myself made me feel like I had 100% control over my body and my life and what I want to do with it. But I think that if I didn't have access to the resources that I did have access to, that I definitely would have felt like that I lost control and that somebody else was playing me by puppet strings and choosing to have me live my life how they want it.